So today I wanted to have a little bit of fun and revisit that Nvidia GeForce Now leak. Some people were looking at it, calling it the biggest leak we've ever seen in gaming history. And the more we kind of go along here, the more stuff from that list is actually getting announced and proven to be correct. So yeah, this potentially could be one of the biggest leaks we've ever seen in gaming, giving us a look into the next 2 or 3 years for game announcements. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're going to start today with this video sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Satisfy and their new Rise pads. Satisfy has been working to create a comfortable experience for the Switch with their grips and now for your controller with the Rise pads. These pads are easy to install and improve the ergonomics when using the analog sticks with 3 different designs and 2 different heights, allowing you to completely customize the feel of your Switch, Xbox, or PlayStation. They come in a 5-pack, allowing you to mix and match to your liking. The added height makes for better accuracy, and the swivel pad will actually swivel along with your thumb so it stays on the stick rather than rubbing across the surface. This, paired with the organic shape of the Rise pads, make the controller much more comfortable for longer sessions. Rise pads come sized for the Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch. Head over to Satisfy.com and grab yourself a pair. They are running a special on free shipping, and use code SpawnWave to take off an additional 5%. Once again, thanks to Satisfy for sponsoring today's video. So first, let's talk a little bit about what this GeForce Now leak exactly is and where it came from, just in case you missed the story a couple of months ago. People seem to find a bunch of logs and different files around games that were tested using GeForce Now, their service where you can stream different games or even applications, because like Photoshop was on that list. And it's not hard to believe that at this time now, where remote work has spiked heavily, that people at different studios would be using that service to remote work and kind of develop different games and projects at a whole bunch of studios. That includes Microsoft, Sony, we see Square Enix in there, Take-Two, 2K, all this. So when we saw this list, it read kind of like a wish list of stuff that we would kind of write down ahead of a big E3 presentation and then be immediately disappointed after that presentation ends. But as we've gone along, some surprising things from the list have actually been shown to be correct. Let's head over to the list now as it stands, and this was made up with all of the release dates that were added. Yeah, that's right. Some internal release dates, I guess, were added to the list, so they removed some of the ones that didn't have release dates, duplicates, and just PC applications like your Photoshop or anything there. And I want to point out and stress, these are internal release dates, and we've seen that at this time, public announced release dates are not set in stone. So I don't put a lot of stock into these internal release dates, but it at least gives us an idea as to their target year is what I'll say. I don't know if I would break it down to the day or even the month, but at least an idea as to what they're shooting for here. A few things that have come true from this list that, again, people were a bit surprised about. ActRaiser Remake. That's not the official name of it, but we did get a new ActRaiser game, which was weird. Again, no one was expecting that one. I believe we also had Outcast 2. That's on this list. We heard Gearbox, I think Randy Pitchford mentioned that a new Brothers in Arms is going to happen, or at least it's being worked on. And I mean, they have it dated here for February 2024. Again, it sounds like something in very early development. The other big one was God of War, which that popped up from Sony. It even had a Steam ID. So to me, it seemed pretty obvious it was going to happen. But God of War, of course, came up at a time when Sony is starting to move a lot of their games to PC, one at a time here and there. So to hear about God of War making the jump to PC was a bit surprising to people. However, it seemed to make sense from Sony's side. And then boom, it gets announced for January ahead of that Uncharted PC release that's slated for 2022. We also had the Grand Theft Auto remasters that weren't officially announced yet, but were heavily rumored. We also had this Destroy All Humans 2 remake that also was announced. I see Destroy All Humans 3. Be interesting to keep an eye on that. And then this Hangar 13 unannounced project, because we heard from Take-Two during their investors briefing that they had canceled whatever Hangar 13 was working on. It cost them like $50 million or something with that cancellation. So here's another game that I assume this is what was canceled because there were a lot of questions internally at Hangar 13 if there are going to be layoffs and all this stuff. So if they had another game in development, I don't know why they'd be considering that. And then there was like Helldivers 2, which I saw a lot of people talking about that being teased. Like I said, there are several things in here that are at least being pointed out as having some serious legitimacy or already being announced. The big one that a lot of people are talking about right now, it's still rumor territory, but it's one you want to keep an eye on because, I mean, if this actually happens and it gets announced, much like a lot of reports are currently saying, I mean, then we really have to pay attention to a lot of the games in here because then anything's possible. That's Chrono Cross Remaster. When this leak came out, this was a game that people were looking at and they were like, okay, yeah, that obviously that's something that someone threw in there just for fun. They're like, oh, maybe this could happen. Maybe we'll play around with an early project or idea around this. But we talked about this in Newswave yesterday. It was something that really blew up online. That's rumored to be what's going to be announced this holiday. Earlier this year, there was a musical artist who said that they were recording for some sort of remake that was going to be announced by Sony over the holidays. We heard that this is going to be multi-plat, and maybe it's something that Sony just announces. Could be in their own presentation, maybe a state of play or something. But now all eyes are on Chrono Cross. If that really gets the announcement, then there's a lot of stuff in this leak from Square that I hope are going to happen. I mean, you guys already see it. Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster. They have it for like 2022. I mean, it could happen. Next year could be a massive run of different remasters from Square for old people like me. Maybe you do get this Chrono Cross Remaster, then you get Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster, then you get Tactics Ogre Remaster. That's right there for 2022. That'd be a pretty cool year of just remasters from Square with some of their legacy titles. Hollow Knight Silk Song, that's dated for February 2022. I feel like we'd have to hear about that pretty soon. Maybe there's an Indies presentation from Nintendo where they're going to announce it, or I think that just finds its way into a full-blown direct, maybe the first one of next year. There have also been a lot of rumors around NetherRealm working on Mortal Kombat 12 at this time. I know there are talks about them working on the next Injustice, which Injustice 3 is also in this leak. It's possible they could be kind of working on both right now, but Mortal Kombat 12 will be next up. It's weird to consider that since Mortal Kombat 11 came out, and then you figure they'd go to Injustice, then go back to Mortal Kombat, but that's at least what's being talked about now. The big one on this list that people keep looking at, though, is obviously going to be Sony, because they're on this list a lot. We're assuming that several of their titles are going to be making the jump. Like PlayStation Mobile was the name they were under for a lot of their PC ports. They have now, of course, changed that as like PlayStation PC. Ghost of Tsushima is here. That's slated for 2022. And you're going to see that as we go through, that a lot of their games appear slated for 2022. I mean, they have like Returnal on this list, Sackboy. I don't know if they're going to go that crazy with PC ports in 2022 where we are getting like 5 or 6 games from Sony. However, they do appear to be making that kind of a push where they did acquire Nixes, and we assume that is in order to get their games to PC faster, or at least better is what I'll say, so they don't have a situation where Horizon Zero Dawn comes out and it has a lot of problems around just functioning correctly at certain frame rates or widescreen support and all of this. Final Fantasy VII Remake appears like they have it dated for June of 2022, and it sounds like what happened was Sony actually extended the timed exclusivity around that one because we had Final Fantasy VII Intergrade come out. And then I also noticed that Ratchet and Clank is on here, that being for the end of 2022. I do believe that a lot of these Sony games are going to be making the jump to PC, and I think the window for when they come out on PlayStation and when they come out on PC is going to continue to shrink down. And yeah, we probably will see at some point a game release on the PC and on PlayStation 5 same day. I think it'll be a live service game, could be a multiplayer game like a SOCOM, or maybe, who knows, Last of Us Factions. Shin Megami Tensei 5 is also on this list. That seemed to confuse a lot of people because it says 2022. It's out now already. But recently, people did data mine the game and found code that was pointing to a PlayStation and PC release. I feel like Nintendo probably has a 6 to 12 month timed exclusivity on Shin Megami Tensei 5, and yeah, it probably will show up on PlayStation and PC next year. I think this one really threw a lot of people off. Kingdom Hearts 4. I feel like no one actually believes that there's going to be a Kingdom Hearts 4 in 2023. This says September 30th, so like towards the end of 2023, especially with how long it took for Kingdom Hearts 3 to eventually show up. So that's one, I guess, to keep on your radar. Now, there are also several games that are not on that list we were just looking at because they don't have release dates next to them. I noticed that some lists were just kind of being pulled down online. I did see that PC Gamer had actually gone through and just recorded some of the bigger titles here. I mean, you can see all the ones from Sony, but if we scroll down a little bit, we can see one's from Take-Two with a new BioShock game in 2022. That does not appear to be happening from what I've seen there. XCOM 3. But if we scroll down here a bit further, I did notice that Metal Gear Solid 2 HD and 3 HD are on here. And it's something to consider because Metal Gear Solid has been pulled down due to some of the licensing around the footage that was used in the game, and maybe they're planning to re-release them on current platforms, and they've been doing some tests through it. And we heard there are a lot of plans around things for Metal Gear going forward with some pretty big remakes on the table. But let me know what you guys think about this Nvidia GeForce Now leak. I want to just bring it back to your attention because more and more things are actually coming true from that list, and it's fun to keep tabs on and just see what really gets announced, especially now that we have some release dates, or I guess release years or target years for these titles. Could we have a Chrono Cross remaster really get announced here soon? And does that mean that some of those other remasters from Square, like a Tactics Ogre or Final Fantasy Tactics, actually happen? Thanks guys for watching. Have a great Thanksgiving today. I'll see you tomorrow morning for Newswave.